Good morning, everybody. Greetings and salutations to everybody out there in YouTube land. I'm your host once again, Dan Thornton. I want to thank you all for making a little time out of your mornings to join us here on Lions Talk Live. You know what? I'm sure I'm like most of you where woke up, wanted to check on the results of a Monday Night Football game. And you know what? Started your day with a big smile on your face. Hey, the New York Giants pulled off a late last-second rally, hit the field goal at the buzzer, and you know what? Good for them. Good for the Packers for finding a way to mess that thing up. And I couldn't be any happier if you asked me how, other than maybe if I had a morning Mountain Dew already. So anyways, hey, we're going to talk a little bit about the playoff pictures and seeds, all that type of stuff. Because you know what? We're all feeling pretty bummed out Sunday about the Lions' loss, unfortunately. But let's also consider this. We're only a little bit back from the number one seed. We're only, one game back from the number one seed in the NFC. There's 4 games left. We win two of those 4 games. We will win the NFC North as long as one of those games is against Minnesota Vikings. I also, before we get into everything in the comment section, just why I have this on the screen so I don't have to keep going back to it. Real quick, let's talk about the playoff picture, the scenarios for all the different teams. Before we do that, though, if you haven't yet subscribed to Lions Talk Live, please consider doing so. Trying to make that push to get 4,800 by Saturday night's kickoff. So I think we're just about 40 away. So if you haven't yet subscribed, please maybe consider helping out the channel. Also, while you're hitting buttons, clicking things, hit that like button. One last thing, if you are considered buying or selling property in the state of Michigan, give me a call, shoot me a text, 269-998-2384. I am one of Zillow's premier agents. If you don't know what that means, I'm considered one of the top, 5-10% in the state of Michigan, maybe even parts of the country. But give me a call, shoot me a text. Let me see if I can save you some money. Yes, I'm a Zillow premier agent. All right, all that out of the way. Let's talk about a little bit of playoff pictures before we get the comment section. So as we all know right now, the Lions are 9-4. Vikings 7-6. Man, it would have been nice if the Raiders could have at least scored a field goal or a touchdown to win that game and take it from the Vikings. But it is what it is. And then Packers now 6-7. They've got a tough road with that loss last night of making the playoffs and catching us, but doesn't mean it couldn't happen. Vikings, obviously they play at the Bengals this weekend. And you know what? Once upon a time when the Bengals quarterback went down, I thought, man, it's going to be a gimme game. But give their backup quarterback a lot of credit. He's played well. The Bengals have a real opportunity to win that game. So the Vikings could lose that. If they do, they come to the Lions game, and, man, they would have to win out to get those. So all that being said, the Vikings got at the Bengals, at the Lions, at the Packers, and then at the Lions. So the Vikings' road to the playoffs and getting the North is starting to look pretty difficult, especially if their offense is in neutral like it was last weekend. All right, now we got the Packers versus the Bucks. Then we got at the Panthers. I'm gonna go ahead and give them that win. At the Vikings and at the Bears. And I'll be honest, outside the Panthers game, maybe even the Bucks game, I would say this: the Vikings and Bears to end the season, those might be tough games for Green Bay. As far as the overall NFC playoff picture, we know that the 49ers are 10-3, Cowboys 10-3, Lions 9-4, Buccaneers 6-7. So as long as the Lions can win the North, we get it. They're going to be the number 3 seed in the NFC. Now you look at some of the top 3 wild card teams are going to advance. We all get this. Eagles are going to be 10-3. I believe they have one more match against the Cowboys. Maybe I'm wrong on that. So if somebody can, let me know in the comment section. And then obviously Vikings and Packers would be the next 2 with the Rams, right there with them. So I would say this, to be fair though, let's go down the list. So at 6-7, you've got the Saints, the Falcons, Seahawks, Rams, Packers. So really any of those teams could sneak on in. Who you want out of that, man? If I'm the Lions, it'd be interesting to shakes out. But if the Vikings don't figure out the quarterback situation, that might not be a bad matchup for us. Saints obviously can play with us. Falcons can play with us. Seahawks probably don't want to face, at least based on recent history. The Rams, boy, would that be a media frenzy? Matt Stafford comes back to town. Packers, etc. So all those games are winnable for the Lions. All of them are losable to the Lions. So, all right, enough about all the jibber jabber. Let's go ahead and get into the comment section because I know you guys are moving and shaking, and I can see it's moving and shaking. All right, here we go. Michael, greetings and salutations. Morning Dew crew. Thank you, New York. Abso-freaking-lutely. You know what? I'm looking at everything as a Mountain Dew is not half empty or full. It's overflowing. You know what? The more I think about it, we're 9-4. You go into the season thinking this. You go into the season thinking that we could be potentially a 10 to 12 win team. I got to believe all of us would have taken it. So, yes, the Bears loss stinks. But as I promised you guys, I was going to try to have a positive, more of a let's review the entire season outlook. And I'll say this. I think we can win 2 of these last 4 games, maybe 3 of them. Winning all 4, that would be tough. Is it possible? Sure. I'm just not going to have high expectations of it. But if we get to 2 wins and we have an 11-win season, get the North, host a playoff game, and man, if we can put icing on the top of that cake by winning it, man, I'm going to take that. I'm going to take that big time. I'm going to take it down and have a second Mountain Dew that day. All right, Brother Ken, what do you got? Good morning, Coach Dan and family. Greetings from the Mile High City. Greetings to you, and hopefully you're having a great morning, Brother Ken. All right, Drake, what do you got? Michael Dover, boom. That helped out a lot. It did. It helped us out exponentially. Lions fan number 1, thought the Packers were going to sneak out another close win. Thankfully, they did not. You are correct. Yes, I got to imagine just about everybody when you watched Jordan Love go down and take the lead with just under 2 minutes to go. Yeah, you thought they were probably going to have it. All right, AJ, greetings and salutations, everyone. We get this Saturday and the following weekend's Vikings. We claim the North 100%. Just got to make it happen. And you know what? I get Denver's coming in overall pretty hot, but, you know, they've got some struggles just like us. So hopefully we can struggle a little less. All right, JDC, good morning, all. Good morning to you, too. Big Eddie, morning, all. Hooker appears to be a real option for the future of the team. Coach, thoughts? Real quick, I'll say this. Is he an option? Absolutely. You could see, to me, I try to pay attention to people's body language because anybody can say whatever they want, but their nonverbal communication typically is a big tell. When you watch Dan Campbell talk about Hooker, you see some things in his face and his voice, or hear in his voice, I guess, that maybe you don't always hear in Goff. Now, you go back and listen to some other stuff with Ben Johnson and such. You know, I'll say this. I'm not going to say he is the future of the franchise. I'm not going to say Goff's time is done. I will say Goff has probably changed a lot of narratives in the last month and a half because he has struggled. He has regressed. He does start to look more and more like the last season or whatever you want to say, 2 of LA Goff. The reasons why, let's not worry about that. Let's just deal with what is happening, not what the reasons are for it to happen. So I think this offseason, yes, they're going to take a real long look at both guys. I mean, if Goff comes in and just crushes it next year, do you even have to sign him to an extension? Do you think, man, maybe Hooker just needs another year of seasoning or whatever? So could you just franchise Goff at that point and say, you know what, we'll pay you whatever for a year? Yeah, I mean, technically you can do it 2 years, but you get my point that they're in no position where they're going to have to make a firm choice. They're really going to have to be sold on Goff at this point to sign him for, a contract extension. And I think we're all going to want to take a deep dive look at how things play out in the offseason. All that said, Big Eddie, let's wait until the offseason. Right now, as much as I know Hooker is a hot topic and, Hooker Time is going to be in here promoting his jerseys and stuff like that, let's focus on this team for now. At least that's what I would like to do. If you guys have questions, so go ahead and fire them away. There's nothing wrong with that. All right, Brother Ken, Dan, I'm about 10 minutes away from Empowered Field. I can disable the team's bus, and the Broncos will have to forfeit Saturday's game. If I get caught, can you bail me out? You know what? I'm pretty sure the Denver police take payments in Mountain Dew, so yes, I can. Make it happen. Maybe even slash the wheels on the plane. Maybe clip the wings off the plane. Hey, let's slow them down even more. Then maybe if we could maybe just reroute them to, say, Hawaii to land. Yeah, you can start working out. Georgia, yeah, Brother Ken, yeah, just do it. Yes. Phil, greetings and salutations. All same to you, my friend. Hopefully I'm going to do one. Pat Rock, morning. Phil, morning, Phil. Greetings and salutations all. Sorry about that. Eduardo, it's demon time now. Yeah, it is. Let's make it happen. Let's go out there. Let's unleash the beasts on Denver. The good part is Denver, like I said, they got some weaknesses. They've not looked great at times. They've looked pretty good at other times. It's at home. They got to fly across country. Goff plays better at home. Maybe Frank Ragnow's back this week. That would be a big plus. I think we would all agree on that. And who knows from there? Maybe we just get this thing going. Excuse me, I had to sneeze. Maybe we just get ourselves out of the funk that we've been in for a little bit here. All right, Ed, what do you got? Good morning, Coach. Would you give Bridgewater more reps this week and have him ready to step in? Boy, if Goff is struggling emotionally, which I think is a big part of it, you might bury the guy by doing that. But at the same point, you're a coach. You got to do what's best for the team. So would I up a few of his reps? Yeah, I'd probably take him from usually the starting quarterback gets 80 to 90% of the reps in the week. I might drop that to 70% just to get, Bridgewater a little bit more. All right, just say, okay, I'm feeling better about the situation, Coach. Should I not be? No, I think we all should. Like I said, I came in today saying, hey, man, I'm feeling pretty pumped. Yeah, it stunk about Sunday, but the other part of it is look at the best teams in the NFC. So if we look at San Francisco, we look at Philadelphia, Cowboys. If we want to consider ourselves up there, or not up there, that's fine. I mean, I'll let you guys debate whether we're in their zip codes or not. But at the end of the day, we're only one game behind all of them. And so imagine, I'm not a fan of those other teams, so I don't listen to their fan bases, but are we all really doom and gloom because we've lost a couple of games and close games? I mean, the Chicago games are the biggest blowout we've had this year. And in my NFL standards, I guess it kind of is a blowout, but Seattle, obviously overtime game. The Packers, that's a one-score game. Chicago wasn't, and then the Ravens sure wasn't. That was a beatdown. But for the most part, we're right there with everybody else. We've got a ton of injuries. We're not healthy, and our quarterback is struggling. So it is a recipe for sure for us to struggle. If we can get right with the quarterback and get a little healthy, this team could do something. It doesn't mean they're going to win the Super Bowl this year, but I think there's a real chance that we could do something in the playoffs as far as getting a win. And that may seem, one win, who cares? But for a franchise that hasn't done it since, 91, that is something. That is a continued show or tell that this franchise keeps going forward. I'm going to have a long-term view on this. 2 seasons ago, we were not very good. We were whatever our record was. I don't even remember. 3 wins and a tie. Last year, obviously, we were 9-7. This year, we get one more win than we did the year before. So we are going forward. Yes, I think we all want more than just one more win, but let's see what shakes out. All right, Eduardo, what do you got? Do you think the players are at a point where they would call a player-only meeting? I wouldn't discourage it if I was MCDC. Let them regalvanize themselves, refocus themselves, because the only downsides I really had from Sunday's game is some of the poor sloppy play, some of the missed blocks, all the penalties, and there's a lot of blame to go around, and not just with the players. But to me, they're a team that has lost their focus, lost their identity, and forgot what made them so successful. They're going to have to kind of have a come to Jesus moment, all of them. Maybe just make it a team meeting, include the coaches and say, hey, what do we need to do to correct this for all of us to do our jobs better? So it wouldn't discourage, Eduardo. I would not discourage a players meeting. And Phil, another L coming up. We're playing the boss's team. We're going to get out coached. It could be. But you know what? I'm having a positive outlook. I'm saying to myself, Phil, we're going to get 2 wins out of these next 4, secure the division, host the playoff game, and win that playoff game. It might not happen, but I'm not going to go with doom and gloom. If you guys want to, you can, and I'm not saying you are, Phil. I'm just saying this is the way I've chosen to approach it. So, you know what? It doesn't mean I won't do the analytics. It doesn't mean I won't break down film and say, yeah, we got to clean this up or that up. But I'm just saying, hey, We're 9-4. We're one of the best teams in the NFC. We're a game literally out of first place in the NFC, and we have an opportunity to win a division, potentially a playoff game. So that's how I'm approaching it. Drum, what do you got? Good morning, Coach. What is MCDC's specialty? And when he always say we're going to get things cleaned up, it's just a bunch of talk. Yeah, it's coach talk. It's coach speak. And Drum, I'll say this. I'm 100% sure MCDC's out there trying to figure out ways to fix this, fix that. I mean, all coaches do, right? As far as the specialty, I wouldn't call him an offensive coach. I wouldn't call him a defensive coach. I would call him a motivating coach, a drill sergeant. Go out there, get the troops ready, all that stuff. He's done. I mean, him and Brad Holmes is, even though we can bemoan what they didn't do at the trade deadline, or they should have drafted this guy or whatever. I mean, that I gotta imagine it happens to most teams. So I'm not gonna really worry about that. But what we can say is, has he changed the viewpoint and the outlook of the Detroit Lions? We win this division. I mean, that's an impressive feat from just 2 years ago. It hasn't gone cleanly as of late. There are mistakes being made. Some of the younger rookies, are having some struggles here. Some of them aren't. Some of the second and third year guys are struggling a little bit right now. I think that is a result of having some pressure on them, where last year, I mean, let's be honest, when you start 1-6, there's no pressure. You just keep winning. You do what you do. You play loosely. You can make whatever calls you want in the game. At the end of the day, if it doesn't work, you know what? Hey, it was entertaining. But it's a little different when you've got, if you lose, there's a real cost to those losses. And you're seeing it in the fan base. I'm guessing you're seeing it in the coaches too. When you lose, when you're in the driver's seat, that gives opportunity for somebody to catch up to you. Minnesota, thankfully, is still 2 games behind us. Green Bay is 3 games behind us. And with only 4 games to go, their road's looking pretty tough. All right, Eduardo, win the next 2, and the division is yours. Yes, I agree. Hooker time. I was expecting to see you today. Green Bay losing felt great. It did. But, perfect. Now, again, if only the Vikings would have dropped the ball, but, unfortunately, they did not. Eduardo, I really hope we can come out ready on Sunday, because if not, we'd make DC look like a clown after he said we would. You know what? Hey, I'd rather have the guy that says I'm going to hit every shot than the guy that goes, man, I might hit 1 out of 10. I can only speak for myself. You guys let me know your thoughts. But as a player or coach, you want to believe you can win every game, any situation. So let's just say this. Let's go out there and get this win Saturday. Yeah, Phil, Giants, yes, 100%. Jerome, what do you got? Hey, Dan, can a coach tell if a player is hiding some talent, or whatever you see is all he got? I would think so. I mean, especially once you've been around the player for a while, you kind of learn their norms. You probably can tell, especially if you've been around talent for a while, you can figure out what somebody's potential is and what their potential isn't. So yeah, to answer, yeah, I do believe you would be able to, after, if you've been around somebody a month or so. In this case with MCDC, he's been around the vast majority of these guys for a few years. He probably knows their potentials and their weaknesses, etc. Eduardo DeVito is my hero. Hey, who would you keep at quarterback if you're the New York Giants? I mean, I think that's starting to become a question. Brother Ken, Dan, me and my team of operatives are standing by. Just give us the go-ahead. The word is go. You make it happen, man. Boo. Good morning, Duke Crew. Good morning to you. Eduardo, as a coach, what are you telling your team after how they've performed the last few weeks? If it's me, I'm probably trying to find ways to motivate them, make them feel better about themselves, because the worst thing you can do is if athletes have lost faith and confidence in themselves, that start doubting any decision, whether it's their own or the coaches. You do that, things get worse, because now any small errors become magnified in the mind. So I'm pumping them up, man. Sort of like I'm doing on the show today. I'm pointing out the good stuff. Hey, man, we're the team that got 9 wins. Hey, man, we're 1 game out of the NFC's top spot. Man, let's look at the Cowboys. Man, they lost to the Cardinals, and look at them now. Man, look at the 49ers. They lost 3 games in a row, and to some of those teams weren't the greatest. we can't beat these guys. We aren't one of the best teams in the NFL. I'd be doing all that kind of stuff to try to reinforce and reinvigorate this team. I get some of them are beat down. I get some of them are tired. But tell them, man, that's what champions do. Champions find a way to get up when they're down. Champions find a way to do just a little bit more. A champion says, you know what? I don't care about what this team would do to us 10 times out of 10 games. I'm going to say this. Tonight's the night we beat that team. They might beat us the other 9, but not tonight. We're getting them this game. Just stuff like that. Coaching talk. That's what you do. You pull out your speeches and you go through it. And you guys want, I'll pull out a speech or two. Ed, what do you got, Coach? Everyone is saying Goff can't throw it deep. How many yards should an NFL QB be able to throw it? An elite NFL quarterback could probably throw it accurately through the air. I'd say 40, 50 yards nowadays. They can make it hum. And think about it, that's half the field. Some of the dudes can throw it farther than that. If I was to guess what Goff's max range is, if it's indoors, I'd probably say 30 yards. Outdoors, 20, 25. Now, with that being said, I do remember a couple times last year, I want to say one of them was against the Jets, where he hummed one like 40-some yards through the air to Khalif Raymond, an outdoors, chilly environment. So does he have potential to do it? Yes. It's just watching him this year, I don't know if he's done something to his arm or maybe he's just lost some faith in it or, those are the things I can't answer, Ed. But what I can say is when he throws his deep shots, they're no longer as accurate as they were last year. His play last year was stellar. This year, it is different. The reasons why, man, we'd probably have to go through an hour-long video just on that. But there are cumulative effects here. And right now, Jared Goff, I think the vast majority of his problems are on the internal part, his mind. He's got to get mentally right, and then I think you start seeing good Goff again. All right, T. Bourne, good morning. Hey, good morning to you too. Brent, hey, man, I haven't seen him, but good morning, Coach and Do Crew. I'm actually more worried about us getting out-coached against that than I am about Goff. Sean Payton is a great coach. Thoughts? There's probably a lot of truth to that. I mean, you guys heard me talk about it. There's a big difference between experienced coaches and inexperienced coaches. Sean Payton, I think we could all agree, is a very experienced coach. And you look at the Lions just this year alone, the teams that have given us problems, outside of the Bears game, have come from experienced coaches. So is there a lot of room for that? Sure. Some of the saving graces is, they're as imbalanced as we are right now. They are having some struggles. But, we're kind of offsetting that by struggling ourselves. They're going to come in, they still have a chance to win their division just like we do. They're going to come in and play their best ball of the year. They're going to come in and do everything they can to get a win. So it's going to be a dogfight. I'm anticipating. I think it's going to be a close game. The Lions, though, are going to have to do everything they can to not defeat themselves. No more stupid penalties. No more turnovers. You clean those two factors up alone, the Chicago game probably would have been a lot closer, maybe even a win. But you look at the games we've struggled as of late, it's all, for the most part, the margin between victory and defeat comes down to self-inflicted wounds. Eduardo, serious question. Isn't week 17 and the Lions have the division clinch and can't move up in standings? Do you rest all players till playoffs? If it's me, Eduardo, I'd probably play the starting units half of the first quarter just because I don't want them to get too rusty. You're going to play the next weekend, but after that, I'm getting them out. So, basically like a preseason game, 1 or 2 series, and that's it. Get them out there, and then give them every opportunity to be fresh. I'm not a big fan of giving them the entire week off, entire game off the last week, just because I do believe the body does start forgetting real quick what that physical contact's like. And I don't want them to have their bodies refigure it out the entire first quarter of a playoff game. So 1 or 2 series, keep them fresh, get them out, get everybody else in. Jerome, hey, Coach, does trash talk help a player play better? Some, yes, 100%, 1,000 billion%. Other people, they ain't good at it, and it doesn't help them out. Some people even get timid if somebody does it to them. So there's a lot of factors in play. I mean, If you grew up and you're used to everybody doing it, then you know what? It's probably no big deal unless somebody, really steps on some lines and gets uber personal. Then people might start swinging. But I do think, yes, can it help people? Absolutely. All right, Phil, any word on what personal issues Goff has been having? Who knows, man? Who knows? Matthew, what do you got? Greetings and salutations. It's December, and we are still talking about meaningful football. I like the way you're going here. Rewatching the Bears game, it was the poor play calling that stood out in man coverage. Fix that, run more screens. Yeah, and I've talked about it for a while. I think we do have a lot of guys that struggle to create separation against man. At least, good man-to-man defenders. You can see it against the Bears. You can see it against the Saints. And I imagine I'm not the only fool who can see it. You do need to help these guys out a little bit more with some better play calling. Some of the cute stuff that Ben Johnson did last year, he's kind of gotten over the top with it, I think, in the wrong situations this year. So maybe some of his inexperience is showing. Maybe some of his desperation to get the offense ignited is, popping up. But hopefully they get it right, because getting Saturday a win would be monumental for putting this team into the playoffs and the division. All right, Eduardo, Broncos lead the league in turnovers. We need to get up on them early and make them play our style. They play a very ugly kind of football. Yeah, I did notice that about the turnovers, and you got a quarterback that's been known to turn it over, especially the last few years. Hey, give Seattle credit. They probably knew the absolute best time to sell on that stock. With all that being said, I'll keep saying it. Don't shoot yourself in the foot with penalties. Don't turn the ball over. Get a lead and keep imposing your will on them. It's a winnable game. It's a losable game, but I'd say this: every game the rest of this season probably just fit that definition. You could win it or you could lose it. One Funky, good morning all. Good morning to you, my friend. Pierce, good to see you. Last night we made me happy. 3 games lead, 4 to go. Yes, 3 over the Packers, and yes, we're up 2 over the Vikings, but we get to control our own fate with the Vikings by playing them twice out of the last 4. So get 2 wins out of these next 4, and as long as one of them is against Minnesota, you've got the division. Eduardo O'Neill, question, who would you want to play in the playoffs? Who do you think would be the best matchup? All right, let me pull up this playoff picture again. All right, so we'll just say that for the sake of this discussion, let's say we're going to be the number 3 seed, which, there's probably a real good potential for that. So number 3 seed, let's go with the playoff options, the wild cards. It'd be the Eagle. We would get let's see. Eagles would go. I'm trying to think who would be the best option for us. I'm going to go with the Falcons. Out of all the teams, I think the Falcons would be the team I'd be jumping and screaming for as far as who to get to play. Whether or not that's going to happen, I don't know. That would be a tough one. But Eagles would go to the number 4 team, which right now would be, who's that going to be? Number 4, the other division winner. And then we would get the next team. So currently that's the Vikings. So could it be the Falcons? It could, depending on how the rest of the season goes. Vikings, if their quarterback position doesn't get right, and especially if we play real well against them in the final couple weeks, that might not be a bad matchup either. Or Ben Johnson's offense is becoming conservative and predictable. I would 1,000% agree. I think other coaches are understanding his schemes. Time to open it up and let it fly. Morning. Yeah, I would agree. He's become very conservative in the play calls. And to your point, people have caught up to him. So, yes, I would agree. You're going to have to shake some things up without going with gadget plays or whatever. Just do some more things to get better personnel on the field the vast majority of time. All right, Phil, we don't deserve the North or the playoffs at this point. I would say why, Phil? Do the Bears deserve it? Do the Packers deserve it? Or the Vikings? Remember, the season's an accumulation of all the games. And I'll say this, if you got the better record, then you deserved it more than anybody else in your division. So we're 1 game out of first place in the NFC as a whole. So keep that in mind. Dallas, Philly, the 49ers, they only have one less loss than us. All right, Ed, what do we got? Coach, isn't route running about time and distance? So why can't Ben design a route that works for Goff and JMO? Oof. That's a good question, man. You would think, man, you would use some delayed post routes or something like that where you could use the speed. Even if you had questions about Goff's arm or ability to hit on the deep shots, I'm cutting in and then breaking out, especially against man coverage. Um, I would think you should be able to design some of that stuff. Or how about this? Crossing patterns with Jameson Williams. If people really struggle to keep up with them and we're facing man to man teams, we have struggled for about 10,000 years with crossing patterns because we don't have the defensive backs that typically do well against it. Why we don't see any of those or screens. So I've just listed 3 routes that are pretty basic in football. I mean, Pop Warner football, high school football, college football against man-to-man teams. Anybody who's watched USC or University of Michigan when that one guy was the defense coordinator, Don Brown, who blitzed everybody and went a man across the board. What did teams do? Crossing patterns, screen plays, things like that to beat man coverage. I don't think I saw any of those last Sunday. Did you? And if you got somebody who's just flat out faster than any human on the football field, it seems a little odd that your offensive coordinator isn't utilizing some of these. Just food for thoughts. Not trying to be negative. I'm just posing a question to you all. So we'll go with that. David, good morning. Don from. All right. Good morning. Where are you from, David? All right. Lone Wolf was so happy the Packers lost 2 more wins and the Lions win the North. I agree. That's my stance this morning. I'm feeling very good. Eduardo, we have a wild card clinching scenario this week. I take it, man. Hey, again, where we were 2 years ago, where we were last year and this year. Do we see progression? Do you see growth? It doesn't mean you're always going to win 5 more games than you did the year before or whatever, because at some point that mathematically becomes pretty dang hard. 9 wins is not easy in the NFL. You getting to 11 wins is even harder. So I'm feeling pretty good about this team. Let's hope that we do get a few more wins out of this season. We do that, man, you really start getting into rare air as far as NFL standings. We can bemoan this, that, and the other thing, but look around the NFL. We're in a fairly normal situation for even the best teams. All right, mile marker. Good morning, Lions Pride. Saturday night will be a party. Absolutely. The dew will be flowing in the Thornton household. Let me tell you, I will be having a few of those, probably some spicy food with way too much hot sauce. And I'm going to be living La Vida Loca, baby. All right. Detroit Matt, Best Lions channel on YouTube. Thanks for that, man. Thank you very much for that. That's very kind of you. Lincoln Clay, what do you got? Somebody sent the Giants a 6-pack of dew and a couple pig feet sandwiches. Now we're talking. I'd be all over that, man. Maybe some rabbit stew too. Pierce, Coach, any word on Ragnow? My guess is, Pierce, we won't hear anything until tomorrow. I mean, there might be some kind of an update today, but as far as any meaningful one, it's probably the first tell is going to be tomorrow when the injury report comes out. All right, brother Ken, seriously, Dan, if Brad Holmes had addressed the D-line in the draft, we probably would have been in better shape pass rush-wise. Too true, man. Too true. I couldn't agree more, man. That being said, Philadelphia probably took the 2 guys we wanted in the last 2 drafts, and they're struggling with pass rush for the most part now and their defense as a whole. So, it is what it is. We can't change it at this point. I made my stance before the trade deadline. I really thought we should have made a move for something or someone, I should say. I wanted Montez Sweat. I don't think I made that a secret to anybody out there watching this channel or other channels or whatever. I'm just going to say this. I get why they didn't go up to a first-round pick to get him. I get that part. That being said, how much different would this team's defense be if you did have somebody like a Montez Sweat? I think it would be exponentially different, and I think you probably would have won against Chicago, but it is what it is. I wanted him just because if you could re-sign him, realistically, you get at least 3 years of high productivity out of him. And I get there's the belief that everybody you draft is going to be around 10 years. I think we all get that's not the case. Most guys drafted are not going to be on your team 4 years from now. It's just the nature of the NFL. They get beat up. They don't hit. They don't perform at a high enough level for you to justify giving them that type of contract, especially when you're talking about first-round talent or second-round talent, one of their higher picks. So to me, I probably would have went as high as like a third and a fourth, or maybe a third, fourth, and a seventh or whatever for him. And then it comes down to, hey, is that what Washington would have taken over a second-round pick? That I couldn't tell you. All right, Eduardo, what do you got? Bengals are a tough team and can lose. Their pass defense is stingy. Yeah, like I said at the start of the show, I really thought when their quarterback Joe Burrow went down, man, that's a win for the Vikings right there. But give that coaching staff and that backup quarter all the praise and kudos in the world, man. They have stayed relevant in the playoff hunt. That's not going to be an easy game for Minnesota. And I think more and more it might be a loss. So if we look at the playoff scenarios and schedules for the teams, the Vikings lose this weekend and they lose the Lions. They're done. Donezo. Now, do they still have reason to play against the Packers? Maybe they could deal the Packers a loss the next to last week of the season. Absolutely they could. If that happens, man, the Vikings we need to all kind of invest in some Christmas cards for that team because they will have done us some solids. So we'll see what shakes out, though. All right, one funky. 2 wins, and as long as one is against Minnesota, we are division champs. Absolutely. But Minnesota can help us out by losing some other games. Well, losing against Cincinnati, then beating the Packers. And you know what? That last game of the regular season, that's just going to be a dress rehearsal for the playoffs. Eduardo, not worried about Green Bay anymore. To your point, they're going to have to win out, and the Lions would have to basically lose out. I'm doing it in my head, so don't hold me to it for that to happen. Lone Wolf Brother Ken, I agree. Yes, 1,000%. Eduardo, we won't be able to catch anyone for higher seeding because we have too many NFC losses. Yeah, you guys probably know more about that than I do, but either way, even if we don't move up to number 2, I get number 1 would probably be unrealistic. With that being said, I'm okay with the number 3 seed. I'm okay with winning the North, hosting a playoff game. We win that playoff game, man, this has been a great year to me. Doesn't mean if we get into the playoffs and eventually lose a game that I'm going to be happy about it. I'll be sad about it, actually. But you know what? Take a step back, review the season as a whole, look back to where this regime started, and see the progression. Do you see the light at the end of the tunnel? Do you see better days ahead, or is it all doom and gloom in your mind? To me, we win 2 out of these last 4 games. We get into the playoffs, everything I just listed, then I'm saying, man, we are going in the right direction. All right, Brother Ken, another thing I've noticed, Brad Holmes is very good at addressing offensive needs, but he lacks addressing defensive needs. I would say you're pretty spot on. I mean, I get he did some stuff this offseason in free agency. Unfortunately, because of injuries, probably not as good as it could have been. But, that's life in the league, right? People get hurt. So this upcoming draft, I do think they're going to have to address offensive line more and more. We've talked that maybe Ragnow's gone after this year. If he really does retire, then I think you absolutely have to resign Jonah Jackson. Taylor Decker, man, I don't want to see him go, but at the same time, his play this year hasn't been terrible, but I think you're starting to see some signs of wear on his body and age setting in. Hope I'm wrong. Hope he kicks the bejesus out of the ball the rest of the season and just says, yeah, we're good there. We don't have to dress tackle for another year. But you probably are going to have to look at least some form of interior offensive line. You're going to have to get a pass rusher opposite Hutchinson. You're going to have to get after that secondary. Unless everybody wants Jerry Jacobs back next year as a starting corner. I don't mind him as depth on the team. I do not want him to be the starting cornerback next year. Phil, could we end up playing Vikings 3 times in 4 weeks? Yes, we could. Yes, we could. And you know what? If their quarterback situation is still as bad as it was against Vegas last week, I might be okay with it. I might be like, that's a great move for us. All right, Eduardo. It would be amazing if an NFC South team got in as a wild card. Mathematically, it could happen. 4 games left. A lot of those teams are going to write themselves in or out of the playoffs. Pierce, Ken, I think that's more Dan than Brad addressing defense. It might be. It depends on their relationship and how they've structured things. All right, David, whoever thought that we would be in a position where we have to count on other teams to win the North at just the first half of the season? Yeah, but I mean, that's the nature of the NFL, man. I mean, look around the league. Kansas City is struggling to win their division, and there's a lot of reasons for it. It's everywhere. You know, the 49ers were 5-0 before losing 3 in a row. Now they've kind of rewrited the ship. It's just the season. I'll summarize with this. When we started the season, I talked to a bunch of guys and a little bit younger reporters, I guess you could say, and they were like, "Man, Chicago's terrible. Vikings are terrible. They can't beat Tampa Bay. Packers, Love looks horrible." But things change so much from week to week in the NFL, let alone from quarter to quarter. Teams get better, they get healthier, they lose players, whatever, they lose their way. One thing I'll say is, at the end of the day, it's not just how you played in this game or that game that's your season. It's how you played over all of them. The season is an accumulative effect of rights and wrongs. And what we'll be able to say, if the Lions can just win 2 more, 50% of the last 4 games, then look at their season as a total. You were right about everything 11 times. You have been wrong 6 times. I can imagine you go to most fan bases and into the season, before the season's even played, and say, "I'll give you 11-win season. Would you be happy with it?" If you're a Detroit Lions fan, I would say most of us are probably saying sold on 11 wins because, man, look at the Patricia eras or the Matt Millen years and everything. Look at the vast majority of the last 20-plus years. I think we would take 11 wins any day of the week. So I get it stings and it sucks that we lost to Chicago. But let's also take a step back and say, you know what? This season, we've been pretty blessed. All right, one funky. It's setting up real well for a chance to see Hooker in Week 18. There is a pretty good chance. Bosker Bear, what do you got? Lions fans acting like they've arrived. Lions will win the division and lose the first playoff game. Lions haven't won a playoff game since 91. I remember that game well. Lions go back to being middle of the pack next season. Maybe, man. I don't know. I can't because I can't tell you who they're going to draft, who they're going to add in free agency. So I can also tell you, just like with some of the other teams in the NFC, there's no guarantee that they can keep the momentum. The momentum and the dominance we showed last year at the second half of the season doesn't necessarily translate to this season just because personnel changes. Everything I listed. I've seen lots of teams that, man, thought they were great at the end of the next season, including many Lions seasons, and then flame out the following year. So there is absolutely no guarantee what will happen in the NFC, let alone the whole NFL from year to year. Jibber jabber, yeah, 100%. Debo Mania, yes, it's running wild in New York, I'm sure today. Bosco, wait, the Lions haven't won anything since 91? Wow, thanks for the update. Yep, we have not won a playoff game since then. This is true. Eduardo, it would be totally Lions to lose to Chicago and somehow show up and play the best game season against Chicago. Yeah, it is. Yep, that would be very Lions-esque. Denver is the worst run defense in the league. Do not stop running the ball. Yes, don't stop believing. Eduardo, Denver is still playing for the division title. Going to be tough. Yeah, they've got a reason to play 100%. Bosky, what do you got? You're welcome. Yes, one funky, you're welcome. It's very good to be kind. JDC, I am thankful the Lions have more wins than losses. I'm with you there, man. Eduardo, lose to Chicago and show up and play the best game of the season against Chicago. Please explain. All right, on it. Don, what do you got? Packers lost. Now everybody is happy. I'm feeling better than I did with if they would have been if they had won. I'll go with that, Don. J.I., not you, Don. You're still a miserable boomer. Okay, going with that. All right. Bosky, teddy bears sound like a soft-hating little Chicago fan. Oh, boy, it happens. Where's Bit Girl? I don't know. Maybe she slept in today. Who knows? Bosky, Lions getting their token division wins this season. They lost to first game of the playoffs. They won't win the division for another 30 years. Who knows, man? But, hey, I don't know what team you're a fan of, but what's your team's record? Answer that. There's only a couple of teams in the whole NFL with a better record than the Lions. Now, that's current. Doesn't mean the Lions couldn't win more. Doesn't mean they can't lose more. But what I can say is the trend is our friend, whether it's in stocks or sports. The Lions, for the second straight year and I can't even remember the last time they had 2 straight winning seasons. So they're going forward. Now, it's up to them at this point to finish the season off. They're not going to have easy time with some of these games. I get it. You get it. We all get it. But to discredit any team for the wins they've gotten for the season, I'd say you're a complete knob, man. And I'm not trying to be mean, but how new to sports are you? Winning anytime in any profession is not easy. So when it happens, give those people credit. I don't care if it's rock, scissors, paper, thumb wrestling, or just singing Christmas carols. Winning is never easy, and anybody who tries to come in and discredit a team, a person, or whatever for the achievements they've made, that just sounds like a hater to me, man. All right, I enjoy knowing you have no chance to do anything in the playoffs. All right, well, hey, that's your opinion, man, and you know what? I'd say you're a glass is half empty type of dude. All right, Gun Guy, they played Cowgirls twice already. Okay, so yeah. All right, Dreamer, what do you? People need to chill and look at things for what they are. Lions are 9-4. This team isn't perfect, but they're reliably bounced back from bad performances. Stay plus Pride Nation. I'm with you, Dream. Yeah, I'm with you, man. Hey, Southwest, man, good morning to you. Dan, is it time to move Jerry Jacobs out of the starting lineup? If you are going to leave Jacobs on one side of the field and Sutton on the other, you're making it too easy for teams to pick up on him. Yeah, I agree. He should have never been the number 2 starting cornerback, but he was never meant to be either. Injuries have put him in this spot. If there's somebody better on the team, I'm praying the coaching staff says, and they can ID talent enough to say, that guy is better than this guy. We need him on the field. So is what it is. Hopefully to your point, yes, hopefully they're able to either develop somebody the rest of the way or say, yeah, this guy is better than Jerry Jacobs. But if they're not, then we also need to understand he's the best option we have. Should they have done something to address it during the season? Probably, but they did not. All right, Fletch, huge loss for Green Bay last night. I agree. Yeah, I woke up a happy person today. Trump, Bosky enjoying knowing the Bears are already limited for the playoffs. This is also true. The Bears might have won a game, but you know what? They didn't win enough games earlier in the season, did they? All right, Don, Southwest Lion, this deep into the season, who are you replacing Jacobs with? Not rookie Gilmore. And that would be what I was kind of alluding to, that there's got to be a reason why they haven't replaced them sooner, but they haven't. So, all right, a couple more, and then I got to go. I got to take the car into the repair shop today. So finally that day has arrived. One Funky, imagine being a fan from a team that is so bad that you have to go into other teams' chats to talk jazz about them going to the playoffs. Yeah, that's just what haters do, man. I mean, there's basically whatever the guy's name is, hey, he wishes his team was where the Lions are. That's all it is. And because they're not, he wants to come and fire shots. It's the team that goes 1-17 that gets a win and goes, man, see, you guys are nothing. Well, what was your team the other 17 games? Nothing. So go with that, man. All right, Trey. All right, excuse me. What do we got? Fletch lives. Some of the best teams are reeling right now. Yes, I agree. The Lions are still in it. Yeah. Look at Philadelphia. Nobody for a while was saying they won't lose a second game or a third game. But now in recent weeks, they're very similar to the Lions. They've lost a couple of games in recent weeks. Does that discredit what they've done the rest of the season? No, because again, the season is an accumulation of rights and wrongs. Trump, yeah, right, Funky, yep. Michael, let's dominate the line of scrimmage Saturday against Denver. We need the momentum going into the playoffs. I would agree. Lions didn't score a point. So what, man? I can tell you there were. I got one for you. The world champion 85 Bears. They had the audacity to lose a game, and they lost to what? A team that wasn't even one of the better ones in the NFL. So does that mean that their Super Bowl title is diminished? I know. How about this? The U.S. 1980s Olympic team. All those young kids, non-professionals playing against the Soviets. They'd gotten crushed so many times this season. You know what? You're right. That when they got in the silver medal game against the Russians that ultimately propelled them to the gold medal victory, that was just probably throw some mud in their face, man, because they had no business being there. But that's how upsets happen. It's sort of like Buster Douglas beating Mike Tyson. The guy was a chump, right? Until he wasn't. So I don't know, man. You clearly need some more Mountain Dew in your day. Motown, what do you got? Funky Lions fan, so true. Yes. All right, Phil, can't give up another 30-point game. Let's hope not, man. Let's hope we give up 29 or less and win. Southwest, Don Burr, James is a liability. He's lost his mojo, confidence. The statistics bear it out. Yeah, but again, you got to believe the coaching staff would put somebody else in there if they thought there was a better option. All right, Don, we got take your emotional mad butt back to Chicago. Teddy Bears podcast, last place bums. Yes. Lions aren't winning a Super Bowl? No way. Well, no, but what are the Bears winning this year? Are they going to be in the playoffs? They the number 2 team in the NFC North? How about the number 3 team? So you're telling me they're number 4 out of 4. Well, the good part is they can't be 5 out of 4. All right. Hey, Coach, why do you clear your throat every couple of minutes? Do you use burger sugar? No, I just, waking up in the morning, I have what's known as post-nasal drip. So it just how my throat is as I've gotten older in life. So just part of it, man. Part of getting old, my friend. All right, Southwest. Okay, who is a replacement in week 13? That would be a good question. Who knows? Maybe the guy that they signed, I forget the kid's name, who used to play for the Bears. He didn't do bad, but let's see if he can crack the code and get into the starting lineup. Trump 94. What's the Bears record? That would be a fair question. Let's maybe put that up on the board real quick. Yeah, looking at the NFC North. Yeah, I don't see the Bears in number 1, number 2, or 3. So where are they? All right, one funky. Having a little fun with that. No one here actually thinks the Lions are dumb. Okay. What a clown dude is literally telling us what we have been saying. Yes. Southwest, Don Burr, I would consider moving Branch over to outside corner. I know he's playing slot, but he would be much better than Jacobs. Maybe they will consider that. But we'll have to wait and see what they end up doing. But to your point, Jacobs is not performing very well right now. All right. As an ex-cocaine addict, your behavior triggers me. Well, sorry about that, man. So don't know what to tell you, man. Lone Wolf, it's not who you play. It's when you play them. There's a lot of truth to that. All right. Deanna, who dropped you on your head? Well, that's a fair question as well. All right. John, good morning. Good morning to you, too. Hopefully you're having a great one. All right. Southwest Lion, no. All right. Eduardo, it would be totally Lions to lose to Chicago and then show up and play best game of the season against Dallas. If they do that and get that win, now they're the same record as Dallas, assuming Dallas hasn't lost in their game beforehand or something. Again, trying to just say the season is accumulation of rights and wrongs and not just one or two particular games. All right. Southwest, Don Burrow, all I know is Jacobs is not performing. You're telling me that you're going to keep putting him out there when he's not getting the job done. They need to try something different. They may be considering that. We'll have to wait and see. All right, Eduardo, I think this team would benefit from a players-only meeting if they lost focus. If they've lost focus, the focus should be winning the division to make the playoffs. I agree, and I've said this before. Maybe they are considering it. Maybe they will do it. What do you got here, Phil? How much would it take for you to coach this team? I would do it. I mean, I enjoy coaching. And then thankfully, I've gotten to the point in life where I'm spending more and more time like on this channel. I have to do it? No. I mean, there's the peanuts you get for doing one of these things. And I get there's some people that I get, they make a boatload of money. I'm a newsflash. I'm not one of those guys. I do this because I enjoy it. I coach because I enjoy it at this point in my life. I don't know how much longer I'm going to be on the earth. I'm going to guess I'm probably closer, unfortunately, to being out of here than I am going to be around here. I mean, who knows? Maybe I'll live another 100 years. Maybe the Mountain Dew will preserve me. But whatever it is, you get to a certain age and you start saying, hey, I want to enjoy my time. So I wake up every day absolutely loving doing this channel with you guys. Even some of the people that aren't always glass half full types, that's fine, man. We're all having a conversation. We're all enjoying it. It's all part of our days. I love it. So if they ask me to coach this team, man, I'd do it. Cover my living expenses, jazz like that. I'd have a blast doing it. But I would also say this: you're probably going to see a lot more aggression on D. I'm going to probably have some open mic conversations with people after games where they tell me I'm a bum and talking about my mama. And offensive, man, you better be ready, because you are going to see some Raiders early 80s, late 70s type football where we're going to line two dudes out wide. They're going to go deep every play, and we're going to have a bunch of people run intermediate passes over the middle. You better guard it, because if not, the second you don't commit two guys deep in coverage along with two corners and man with them, we're taking some shots downfield, and you better be able to guard the whole field. So get ready for that if that happens, Phil. One funky Southwest Vildor, you should get more snaps out there. Yeah, and I thought against Chicago, I thought he played pretty well, and ultimately he might be one that ascends and pushes Jacob to the number 3 or 4 corner spot. Deanna, we can all hear him draining. Yeah, I mean, sorry, man. I can't change it. So it's like asking me to grow taller. Trust me, I've been trying to grow myself taller for 51 years. I haven't found that magic formula just yet. All right, Don, what do you got? Got to go with him. Maybe having Cam Sutton travel. That would not be a bad idea, having him travel. But this late in the season, that's probably not going to happen. Boss, what do you got? Lions defense is soft. Okay. They'll win the division this season. Lions fans will act like they won the Super Bowl, and they'll go back to sucking for the next 30 years. Well, maybe, man. But here's another thought. If the GM who's turned this team around has done a good job with the team, and I think it's fair to say the Lions offense is pretty stacked right now. Doesn't mean it's going to be world beaters, the greatest show on turf or whatever. But now also, where can you clearly invest all your money in free agency and with the draft? Maybe to improve the defense. Just a thought. But anyways, Dan, the O-line is struggling to protect Goff lately. Yes, it is. He needs the extra layer of protection to have a cleaner pocket. I'd use more 2-back sets with 2 receivers and 1 tight end. And that's kind of the formation I was just saying about the old Raiders style offense. Could they do it? Sure. But to your point, when Jonah Jackson's out and Frank Ragnar's out, you can tell a massive difference in this offensive line. Yeah, I agree. What do you got? At the end, just because you're a fool doesn't, make, oh boy, here we go. Let's be kind to people. Let's be kind. Lions lose first round of the playoffs, book it. All right. But we also made the playoffs, and it's been 5-6 years since we made the playoffs. So again, the trend would be our friend. So I like the fact you're becoming positive now. You're saying, man, we're going to make the playoffs. So again, each year we're getting better. Thank you for that. All right, Don, I'd like the idea of Sutton traveling and the other team's top receiver. Just don't like the idea of leaving somebody out there who's not performing. I agree with that. All right, guys. What's this, Phil? Giants have an Italian standing. They do, man. They do. All right. Hey, I got to get going. I got to take the car to the shop this morning, drop it off, and then go get a rental car before work day starts. It's also game day, so I got to get in coach mode and all that stuff. So if you haven't yet subscribed to Lions Talk Live, please consider doing so. I think we need about 40 more to hit the 4,800 mark. If you can make that happen for us, I sure would be thankful. Also, don't be afraid to hit that thumbs up like button. Hope you all have a great rest of your day. Go have a morning Mountain Dew, maybe 2 if you're feeling a little feisty, I guess. But hope you all have a great one, and I'll see you on the next Lions Talk Live. Take care, everybody.